Nothing heard. CQ. This is Larry, N1NQU with Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club's Newbie Net. This net is primarily for newbies to give them some no-pressure mic time and to answer any questions they may have regarding ham radio. What we do is take check-ins, then go around twice to see if we can answer those questions that come up. Please, if you use phonetics when checking in, use the standard ARRL approved phonetic alphabet. This is Larry, N1NQU, taking check-ins for the Newbie Net.
K1CJV, Carmine, Cape Coral.
Whiskey 4, Echo, Papa Sierra, Eric.
November 6, Juliet, Delta Hotel, John.
Kilo 4, Romeo Alpha Bravo, Rick.
KA4JS, John.
This is KQ4PI-R, Kilo Quebec 4, Tango, Romeo, Jeff.
This is Kilo Romeo 4 Alpha Juliet Mike David.
Okay, we'll hold up there for just a moment. Okay, I have K1 CJV Carmine, W4 EPS Eric, N6 JDH John, K4 RAB Rick, AA4 JS John, KQ4 TRR Jeff, and KR4 AJM David. Do we have any additional check-ins for the Newbie Net? Come now.
KQ4 KNP, I'm listening.
KQ4 KMT, Bill, I got you in there as monitoring. Do we have any additional check-ins? Come now. Any additional check-ins from Newbie Net? Come now. Call sign and first name. Nothing heard. So with that, we'll kind of get things started. We're running a little bit late tonight. That was probably one of the most active traders nets I've ever heard. That was definitely something. So with that, thank you everybody for coming in. And as always, I do have a topic of the night. And I am going to start the topic of the night by saying I bought a radio on eBay. So, and I know that it's something that we've discussed before as far as buying radios online and eBay and so on and so forth. And even though we've had the discussion before, I figured, let's revisit it. And because we do get a lot of new folks in and a lot of new folks listening. And I think there's some stuff that,
K4SJAC repeater.
It bears going over again, just so if people are buying stuff on the internet, that they kind of realize what they're doing, and they got to be careful of where they're buying from. And I will say, especially if you're buying from eBay, where some of the eBay is a good one, or Amazon is another one. You kind of have to be a little careful. So I did make my purchase, and I'm waiting for it, and we will see. And we'll go into details on that later. But as always, I do want to remind folks that if anybody has a comment, idea, anything that they want to throw out there, related to ham radio, those comments are always welcome and encouraged. We will try to do our best to answer them. And if it's a little bit too big for us, we might have to make that an upcoming topic. And that's great. Let me break for the repeater.
Good evening. The time is 8 p.m.
So as always, if there's somebody out there that wants to check in, just throw your call sign out, and I'll get you in there. And at the end of the round, first round, I will make a specific call out for anybody that wants to come in and check in. And we usually pick up a few people there. So with that, before we go to the top of the list, do we have any additional check-ins? Come now. Nothing heard. So this is Larry, N1NQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. And with that, we'll go to the top. Carmine, K1CJV, over to you.
This is K1CJV. eBay. Let's see. Yes and no. There are certain things that I have bought on eBay, and usually they are things that are made by local hams, and they're more of what I would call a homemade item that are out there, and there are ways to figure out if a person's legit or not. Because I used to have an eBay store, but you can find out if they're legit. But radios, I would never buy a radio for the most part on eBay. There's a lot of counterfeits that are there. In one instance, there was a Yaesu 7900 that was very prevalent on eBay that was new in box. Break for repeater. And the people even showed the serial number and the Yaesu and all that other stuff, and it had CH in part of the serial number, and that was the big telltale sign. It was an actual CH for China, and it turned out to be a counterfeit that when you tried to hook it up to clone it by computer software and program it, it would not do it by computer. It would only do it by one at a time manually. And so they didn't have the software correct inside the computer. They didn't have it from Yaesu. So it was really kind of an interesting thing. And there were a lot of angry people. And there's also a lot of stuff that's coming in from out of the country that are gray market that are not set up for the U.S. And the major manufacturers will not reset them for you to work in the U.S. So that's all I have. Back to Net.
Thanks, Carmine. And it's one of the reasons I brought up the subject, because if somebody is going to do that, there are definite pitfalls, of, not only eBay, but, going on Amazon. And as I said, it's good that people know, kind of what they're getting into. Eric, W4EPS, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. W4EPS. Yeah, buying on eBay. Well, I was 4.5 decades in the pawn shop business. I've seen a lot of really honest people in my day, and eBay kind of mimics that quite a bit. My experience with almost anything of value on eBay, you've got to have it certified, and if there's not a way, it's really difficult. You just kind of blind throw your money up in the air and hope it goes where you want it, the way you want it. Electronics, I'm not a big player on that one. I'm with Carmine. I want a valid source. I got blood, sweat, and tears involved in every dollar I put away, so I like to make sure that it at least brings some sort of happiness back, not second guess and wish I woulda, shoulda, when I coulda. That's about it. I think that's wisdom. Just get it from a valid source. Better off paying a little extra to HRO, Gigaparts, DXE, et cetera, than crying over some spilt milk there and wasting a couple $1,000s in the wrong direction. I'm going to send it back to Net, W4EPS.
Eric. And I'll tell you, I have not been particularly active on eBay over the last number of years because it's turned into basically a bunch of stores. But I was on eBay 20 years ago, and I've been on eBay quite a long time. And it used to be a lot of fun. You could really find stuff there that you couldn't find anywhere else. And that sort of changed. So occasionally, if I'm looking for something, I may end up there. And with Carmine, there has been some individuals that, in particular, making antennas, and they have a store on eBay, and I've gone specifically to those stores. But yeah, there's you do have to keep an eye out. So thanks, Eric. John, N6 JDH, over to you.
Thank you, Net Control Larry, everybody on the net tonight. There's an old saying pretty much everybody knows here. It's called caveat emptor, and it's let the buyer beware. But on the same situation, I have been on eBay for a very long time, and I have purchased some very good deals on eBay. And, I mean, of course, we have PayPal, and, as long as you're not doing friends and family, there is some protection, but lately some of those protections have been eroded away where they're not standing or backing up the sale anymore. But anyway, I have purchased some high-end electronics years ago on eBay. I've never been burned on eBay. I've had some slow shippers, but I've never been burned. So I think it's just one of those things where you live and learn. So back to net, November 6th, Juliet Delta Hotel.
Thanks, John. And I would say that yes, and all the time I was on, I can't say that I was ever burned on it. But I also did check. I did also check the sellers, and I'd read through and I kind of do a little research, and a couple of people were a little bit slow to ship, but not. I said that was actually a rarity, and I will say I had a tracking number actually yesterday, so I haven't had time to go in to see if it actually shipped today, but we shall see. And this is Larry, N1NQU, for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. And Rick, K4RAB, over to you.
Hello, this is K4RAB. Yes, I bought a radio on eBay. The trick to that is I bought it in 1998. Received it that year, too, at work when I was still working in Atlanta. It was an Argosy, it was a Tentec Argosy, kind of like the one that was put on the swap shop tonight. But I got it. It was a good radio. It's a good radio. I still have it here. But that was 1998, and that was then, and this is now. Nope, I don't buy anything on there now. I'm a little afraid of it, so I don't want to get the P.T. Barnum Award. But and good luck to you, Larry, on yours. I hope it comes in, everything works out all right. So it's a pretty good chance it will, but then there's a chance it isn't. You have to make sure you research your seller. I'm not sure that's even worth it now. So, like I said, anyone, let me reset.
K4SJC repeater.
I would say if you buy on there, be very careful. Like you said, caveat emptor. Back to you, K4RAB.
Thanks, Rick. And I will say that I did go through credit card. I did not go through PayPal, so there is some protection there. And I was afraid when you said you bought something in 1998 that you were saying that, you just got it. And that would probably be a record on slow shipping. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to AA4JS. John, over to you. A4JS. John, you with us still? Nothing heard. What I'll do is come to him at the end. He may have had to get up and to do something, and we'll come back to him. Jeff, KQ4PI-R, over to you.
Thanks, Larry. This is KQ4PI-R. I have not bought anything off of eBay. I did buy something off of Amazon, but it was only because it was from a reputable dealer that I recognized. So far, everything I've been buying has been from places like DX Engineering, R and L, and PowerWorks. They've been pretty good. I had a slow shipment come from Echolink. I got a battery and a charger. And for some reason, it was back ordered, so that was the hiccup there, but not a big deal. But I've avoided eBay. My first club meeting that I attended, I was warned, watch out for eBay and Amazon. So I took that to heart and I followed the advice. So that's my experience so far. Back to the net.
Thanks, Jeff. And I would say yes. Now, somewhat on eBay, but definitely on Amazon, you can get a lot of knockoff products. And, they're, as I said, they may say the name on them, or it may be a copy, but there's a lot of stuff that's been copied, and you're not necessarily buying the originals, including antennas. I've heard of people getting counterfeit antennas, and then they just wonder why they don't work quite as well. And there's a lot of that, and there's a bunch of that on eBay too, so you do have to be careful. And that's so. My normal recommendation would be yes, to go to the various amateur radio manufacturers and actually deal directly with them. Even if you're on Amazon, and if you see it's coming from, let's say, Gigaparts, and I know Gigaparts will do sales on Amazon, a lot of times you might be able to get a couple dollars cheaper if you go directly to Amazon, directly to Gigaparts. There's a percentage in there, and I think that they have to add that on for Amazon. So with that, David, KR4AJM, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. KR4AJM. I'll be honest with you personally. I would not buy anything electronics from eBay or Amazon. Only time I would use eBay for if I'm looking for something very specific that's hard to find. I'm more of a go to the store. I got to feel it, touch it, operate it, make sure it works. I'm weird about that. But I have bought stuff over online through ham radio outlet. But outside of that, I personally can't do it. It's a trust issue, and it's probably something I shouldn't be, but it is what it is.
Welcome to the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club linked repeater system.
And David, I would agree with you. If you are buying online, there is that kind of trust, and actually HRO is my go-to. I know if they have it in outside of Orlando, and I order it today, I'm probably going to see it, the next day. They'll ship it UPS, it's at my door, and so reliability-wise, and you know what you're getting. And I'll tell you, every time I've called them, for anything, or the customer service has always been fantastic. So I would absolutely agree with you. Back to you.
And another thing to add on to this, I also am a big fan of warranties, especially since I'm a new ham operator. I want to make sure that I'm getting good quality products at this time. Back to you.
Comment?
Station coming in with a comment?
November 6th, Juliet Delta Hotel. I'd like to make a comment about HRO.
Go ahead, over to you.
As a Newham also, did a lot of business with HRO, but I don't know what it is, but the last 4 orders have really gone south, to the point of when you specifically ask them not to ship it United States Postal Service, because believe it or not, it takes about 10 days to get from Orlando to Matlacha, whereas if you ship it United Postal Service, you'll generally get it in a day or two. And if you call and have your account marked as do not ship USPS, they have continually shipped USPS. My last order was for the SS-25 from them, the Chameleon, and it showed in stock at 3 locations, which, I mean, you know, things can be out of stock. But it was a week later that I had to call to inquire about what the status of the order was. They sent out no notice. I've talked to Henry, the manager in Orlando, on 4 occasions, and I just don't feel it for HRO anymore. I think my go-to place is going to be DX Engineering. Back to Net.
This is Larry, N1NQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. So, John, just out of curiosity, was the total of the order above or below $100? Back to you.
My orders have been above $100, but I actually have my account marked, and I've had it marked as do not ship USPS. I don't know what it is about Matlacha, but we've had a lot of mail missing, and you know, they also add on a surcharge for insurance. And if the item comes up missing, and they said they've had a known problem with USPS, but it's automatically added unless you default it to otherwise. They have you pay extra insurance so they can immediately replace it if it comes up missing. So, I mean, when you specifically ask them not to send USPS and they agree to it, I think that's the problem. Back to Net Control.
I would agree, and there's a couple good questions there. First of all, I don't know why if it's marked don't ship U.S. Postal Service that they still do. The reason I was asking if it was above or below $100 is I found for small stuff, they will actually ship at Postal Service. I find that once you go above that $100 mark and you get the free shipping or the included shipping, that they usually ship at UPS. And I would agree. Something, you know, that should take 1 day, UPS, Postal Service is now 3 days. So usually I try to save it up and, you know, until I have enough stuff where I can, you know, be at the $100 mark where I get where they don't charge for the shipping and they ship at UPS. And yes, I have seen over the last couple months, so I don't know if that's something that just came in this year, where they are adding a small surcharge to every order.
KR4PI-R repeater.
You know, for insurance. Back to you.
I agree. One of the Pro 7 Heil headsets I ordered, what are they, like $200? They sent, even though I asked not to be sent USPS, they sent them USPS. They took 14 days to get here from Orlando versus 2 other orders that were ordered afterwards. Each took a day, and they were sent UPS. Anyway, that's just my feeling and my experience with HRO. And now I sort of go out of the way to order from DX Engineering. But, I mean, it's to each his own. I mean, some people may have better mail service. We just do not have very good mail service out here. Back to Net, November 6th, Juliet Delta Hotel.
John, I understand, and I don't know why they keep on shipping at Postal Service, but I would agree. I remember ordering something from, I think it was California, and they sent it postal service, and it sat probably 4 or 5 days in Texas, and just, I don't know what they were doing. I think it got stuffed in a quarter, and they forgot about it, and the cleaning crew finally found it and said, yeah, we probably need to ship this at some point. So I did get it eventually, but as I said, it was quite late. Good thing is it wasn't anything critical, so it wasn't holding anything up, but it was definitely a little bit on the annoying side. So thanks, John. David, KR4AJM, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, just one last comment. I would have to agree with everything that was being said, and I'm not too far from you at Matt Lachey. I'm just right around the corner, more or less. But I was just curious, has anybody ever taken that drive up there to visit the store in person? Because that's another reason why I ordered it. It's something I knew I could drive right up there and get something done if I needed to. Just curious if anybody's been there.
K1CJV comment.
K1, CJV, over to you, Carmine.
Yeah, it's K1CJV. Yeah, I've been up to the Orlando store a couple of times. It's a nice store, and you can go and see everything up there and everything else. And it's a typical store. I mean, sometimes you feel a little pressure to buy something that's in stock when you're looking for something that isn't in stock, and you're just trying to look at the demo, and they'll try and push you a different direction. It's a typical salesperson, but for the most part, you'll be able to find what you want, and at least be able to get the touchy-feely part of it. Yeah, I ordered a bunch of stuff from HRO, and I ordered stuff from DX Engineering. There's a few of them that I deal with, and I also have ordered from Gigaparts, and I have Main Trading on the list as well, as they're reputable dealers. And I'll just look around for who's got the best price, and I'll look at the shipping and see what's going on with that. But when you start seeing them doing shipping insurance charges, there's an issue that they're having with, it's almost like your stuff's being tracked and stolen when it gets delivered. So something in the area is getting lost. Coming from their store, it's almost like they're being targeted. That's what it feels like. Back to that.
Carmine, I don't know. Well, I think they just added, I think that's just a surcharge they now add all the time. And I don't know if it's anyone or any area being targeted. My guess is that they've just seen enough porch pirates and enough stuff being lost that it's become a significant enough expense that they feel they need to have insurance on everything. And I'm sure we've all seen the videos of people stealing stuff right off of people's porches, and, unfortunately that's the case, nowadays. And if I know I have something coming of value, then ideally, what I'll do is I'll have it shipped to work. And, that's my solution to it. So is there anyone else that's actually been up to the HRO store? Come now.
Whiskey 4, Echo Papa Sierra.
W4EPS, over to you, Eric.
Yeah, I've been up to the store over there by Orlando. Really, really nice store. Guys were great. Got to speak with one of the gentlemen that helped me on the phone, months prior with a bunch of stuff when I was kind of on that buying blitz that I went through. I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. Anyways, it was great. Gave me a full tour, explained a ton of stuff, took time. They weren't busy. I got in there about 40 minutes before closing. They weren't rushing me out. But, if you're going to buy something, go ahead and get it on the table. Let's get things done. Answered every question I had just great. I had a really, really good experience there. I like HRO. I will give a tad of warning. I went to Hamcation with a short list of items to look at, buy, one of them being a set of Heil headphones. And I went by DXE's booth, and they gave me a $20 off certificate for most anything in the catalog. And you quickly bring it up, and the price of their headphones for the Pro 7s were $279. I walk over to HRO, who had them. I had to go to the store; they shipped them to me, and then they were $215. So pretty significant difference, even with the $20 gift certificate. I like DXE, but I use them mainly for cables if I need something like that. But even that, I've switched over to Messi and Poloni and ABR Direct. But DXE seems to be kind of like Lowe's. You pay a little extra if that's what you want. But the HRO location is top-notch, at least in my opinion. I'm still a newbie, so don't take that with a grain of salt, everyone. W4EPS, back to that. Thanks.
Net Control, November 6, Juliet Delta Hotel, simple comment.
This is N1MQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. And 6JDH, John, back over to you.
FYI, I have found that even RL, which I like, not so much main trading. Main trading generally, if they have it in stock, they've got good prices. But DX Engineering will price match HRO, and HRO will price match DX Engineering, just so people know. It's just a matter. Both are going to charge sales tax. RL and main trading do not charge sales tax. I like RL for ICOM stuff, and they do for the Yaesu people. They do stock Yaesu, but they also provide free shipping. So, these are reputable retailers that we're talking about here, every one of them. So, do shop as a new ham. Do price shop them. See if they'll price match. Make your money work for you. Back to net. November 6th, Juliet Delta Hotel.
K1 CJV, another comment on that one?
K1 CJV, Carmine, over to you.
Yeah, I agree that there are several reputable companies out there, and one of the things that you want to do is make sure you always go to the manufacturer's website, especially like some of the antennas, like Chameleon. If you go directly to Chameleon, what you can't do with on HRO or DX is Chameleon will give you a military discount if you're a veteran. So if you don't ask those questions, you'll never know. So you can find, sometimes they'll go on sale on some of the manufacturers' websites, and you can get a really good deal, especially around some of the Black Friday deals and stuff like that. You'll see 25% off at Chameleon, and you won't see that discount at any of the retailers. And then if you go and you ask them for the military discount, you can show them that you got it. They'll give it to you as well. So yeah, please check the manufacturer's website for what their pricing is, because you might find that it might actually be cheaper at certain times. Back to now.
K4SJC repeater.
Thanks, Carmine. And yes, absolutely, definitely shop around. And I will say that I've used, HRO, I've used DX Engineering, I've used Gigaparts. I actually just ordered something from Gigaparts, and they had an item on sale, and, well, it was actually a little keyer. It's one I really like, and they had it on sale, and with shipping, it was less than I could get it direct for, just because they had it 20% off, and I've been thinking about it, and that just kind of pushed me over the edge, but that's something separate. So that's coming from Gigaparts, and, we'll see that at some point. So with that, I believe that brings us to the end of the list. I know Bill was monitoring, so if he doesn't jump in, I'm not going to bother him. Actually, before we do that, John, A4JS, are you back? Nothing heard. So with that, do we have any additional check-ins for the Newbie Net? Come now. Nothing heard. So with that, nobody actually asked what I actually bought, and I will tell you, and I will tell you why I did it. And there's a couple reasons I wanted to bring it up. Besides, I do recommend staying off eBay. I do recommend staying off Amazon and a lot of the other websites. So what I actually purchased was an FTM 200DR. So for anybody that has been following it, Yaesu has discontinued the 200 and the 300, and they've announced that the 500 is discontinued also. So if you're looking for a mobile C4FM fusion radio, you can still pick up some of the 500s, but it's going to be over $500 plus tax. And I was looking for something a little bit less expensive. I found the FTM 200DR, and I was able to negotiate a little bit on it. So it was decent, but it unfortunately is a discontinued radio. So the other thing the reason I wanted to bring it up is that it is a 2-meter 440 radio, and one of the things that you will see a lot of, if you go on eBay, there's a lot of 2-meter 440 radios, and a lot of these are being shipped from Japan. And you can get a lot of really good deals on them. However, there is a caveat, and let me break for a moment. The Japan models, Japan does in 2-meter and 440 does not have the same coverage as the U.S. amateur bands. So if you buy a Japanese 2-meter 440, their 2-meter side, instead of going 144 to 148, is going to go 144 to 146. And on the 2-meter side, they're going to go 430 to 440 instead of the 430 to 450. Now, anybody looking at the band plans or the repeaters would notice that most of your repeaters are actually in the upper half of the bands. So therefore, you would end up with a 2-meter 440 radio that actually you would not be able to get on the repeaters in the U.S. The other thing is, a big giveaway, is you'll see that a lot of the radios are 20-watt radios, so that they're conforming to Japanese spec, in a 20-watt limit. They're not the 50-watt radios. Let me break again for a moment. So that being said, I was aware of that. Normally, I would not. This would not be a source I would be looking at. But one thing I always do is I will not look at anything that ships from outside the country. I will only look for stuff that is domestic. This is actually coming from somebody that has a very high and excellent rating, and it's coming from California. And it is the U.S. version, so it is the full-spec 50-watt version. And it's a radio that he had purchased, and he specifically purchased it from R&L Electronics and was never able to install it in his vehicle. So it's pretty much new in the box. Does have the box, and yes, it is U.S. spec. There is protection there on the credit card, but as I said, given his reputation and, given what was in there, I decided, okay, I'll go for it and take the risk. But as I said, we're limited risk, and as I said, I just didn't feel like spending the kind of money that they're looking for. For the 500 and now the 510, which surprisingly is $750. For that radio, and I definitely have a hard time putting a $750 mobile radio in my truck. So with that, this is Larry, N1NQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. We'll give a call out. Do we have any additional check-ins? Come now. nothing heard. So we'll go back to the top. And Carmine, K1, CJV, back over to you.
Yeah, Larry, you probably ended up getting a good deal on that. There are ways to tell if someone has a legitimate business that they're selling stuff in a good rating. There are ways to tell if they're legit or not. And I know eBay really well, having had a store in there for years. But one of the things you have to be extremely careful with, it's probably more on Amazon where you're going to find this than you find it on eBay. But on Amazon, there's a lot of people, when they have returns that are going back to major companies, there are companies out there that are specialized in rebuying that stuff from the manufacturer on items that have been returned. The companies themselves don't sell it, or the stores may not sell it, but someone from Amazon or has an Amazon store will buy them, repackage them, call them new, and they're not. They're actually been repacked. And that's very, very common. So what you're finding is there's an item that's on eBay that might have a higher failure rate. That failure rate is because it's a concentration of returns that were going back to the manufacturer that somebody bought, and probably 30% of those that were being sent back were bad ones, and these people bought them and are reselling them as new. That's a very common occurrence on Amazon, and you can get caught really easy. That's why you'll buy a new coffee pot and you'll find that it's full of coffee grounds. That has come out. So you just have to understand the marketplace that you're in and be very careful to know. There's a company called FakeSpot, FakeSpot.com. It's an AI company. You put the URL of the Amazon page that item is on, and it'll tell you if those reviews are fake or not. It'll also work even on Home Depot's website. So there's a lot of places that thing will look up and check out the veracity of the reviews to tell you if they're fake or legit or whatever. So do your homework and back to net.
Thanks, Carmine. And I will say that, this is actually from an individual, not from a company, which was one of the other things because, the companies. And one of the reasons I did want to bring up, that, and yes, you will get repackaged stuff. On Amazon, you'll get just plain counterfeit stuff. I mean, it is just a complete knockoff. One of the things that, scares me the most is buying coax, on Amazon. And because you never know, if it's going to be good or bad. I've bought cabling on there, for projects, and I've had pretty good luck, but I've always read the fine print, to see, okay, is it actual copper? And is it copper wire, or is it the strands? And you got to be real careful. Because, yes, if it looks like it's too good of a deal, then it probably is. You're probably getting a cheaper product. And but as I said, I did want folks, that may be listening to realize that if you are going, the route of buying something, especially 2-meter 440 radios, as I said, if you see it's coming from Japan, good chance it's a Japanese spec radio, and when you get it and you go to dial in your favorite repeater, you're not going to be able to get your favorite repeater. It's out of the Japanese band plan. So thanks, Carmine, because I wouldn't have thought about the repackaging, but you're right, I actually have heard that. Eric, W4EPS, over to you.
W4EPS here once again. Carmine is full of all kinds of nuggets of intel here, this fakespot.com. I never heard of it, and I sincerely appreciate the lead on that. Got to dig into that one a bit. Yeah, I mean, we've all bought stuff on eBay. I think eBay was great years ago. I being in the pawn shop business, handling pre-owned goods all the time, we put stuff out there, and it could be a cherry. I mean, something that was really, really nice, whether it had the box or not. But, I mean, nice piece. And, you know, the market's broader, so you can't always sell that specific item in your own zip code. We put it out there, and the worst part was, you know, it was twofold. One, you had a bunch of liars about receiving it. You had liars about whether it worked or not, just always chiseling you down. Had people switching parts. Oh, my gosh. You know, it turns into a zoo. You'd like to think that the whole process of eBay, of everybody's good at heart and honest integrity on bidding and receiving and trading, you know, doing commerce. Oh my gosh, you find out what the core of humanity is all about in about 3 months dealing on that full platform. But at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is. I am pretty much on the new train. I'm going to follow you guys that have been doing this for a while. I tried to learn pretty quick, and you know, I'm shocked at the price of the Yaesu that you just quoted there, Larry. It terrifies me for the new one that I think you and I both had put a deposit on to see how many millions that fool thing's going to come in at. But it should be fun. But, yeah, that's about it, man. This is a good topic. I mean, there's so much stuff out there and resources. You know, it's hard to figure out as a newbie, like, where do you buy your little fittings? You know, just your little adapters to make up your kits or hook stuff up and what have you. And anyway, yeah, because everybody's got something and they all look the same. You know, Comet's got an adapter and it's $14.95 at Gigaparts, and you can find something like it on Amazon, and it's, you know, every one of them's out there at $6 a piece. So can't see that big a difference in it, but maybe so. Anyway, W4EPS back to net. And Larry, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate this time each and every week.
K1CJV with a comment.
Thank you, Eric. Carmine, back over to you.
Yeah, I kind of knew that those Yaesus were going to be discontinued. When they came out with the ASP circuit board that's in all their new radios, that's what's driven up the price. That ASP, the digital sound processing that is in those things is absolutely amazing. I have the 150 RASP, and I'll put it up against my 300 any day of the week as far as the quality of that radio. It actually makes it puts the 300 to shame on the quality of the radio itself, and it's about the same price as the 300. The 510 is the replacement for the 500, and that has the new the Super DX sound card in it. That is really going to be high-end quality. You can have someone that you can barely hear. All those people that checked in on the net tonight that you couldn't hear because it was all like frying bacon, that stuff comes through almost like it's coming through digitally, and it's that high quality. It will go to full silencing on those radios. So, yeah, it's going to be a higher price for those, but the quality of them is going to be far superior than the 300s and the 500s that are out there. Back to net.
Welcome to the Fort Myers Amateur Radio.
This is Larry, N1NQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. And Carmine, yes, I have heard excellent things about the new ASP. And if I was looking, for, let's say, an analog radio, I would definitely look at those radios, and I would probably get one. I would probably get the dual band. I was looking more specifically for the digital, so I was not as concerned about the ASP. And, as I said, there's a big difference. Now, I will say that, the 200DR, it wasn't a steal. It was reasonable, what he was asking. And, we're able to negotiate a little bit because, of course, I put the offer in. We went back and forth, a number of times. But as I said, there was a significant price difference between going for, that and the FTM 500, which is, still available. And then the 510, which I'm sure is a beautiful radio, but for my needs, it wasn't what I was looking for, so I definitely need to make that jump to 750. I would agree. It's probably a phenomenal radio, but when you start getting up to $750, I'm kind of curious at that point. If people say, yeah, that's a little bit too much radio, then I want to spend to put in, my vehicle. Back to you, Carmine.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I have two 500s, one in each of my vehicles. I don't like to move them. But the 500s are nice radio. They're expensive as well. I mean, they're going to be over 500 for those. But they'll be gone out of there soon. I have the 150 RESP, and I got to tell you something. It's absolutely mind-blowing. You can sit there, you hit that button, and you all of a sudden you go from barely hearing the person to have full quieting. It's amazing. So yeah, but it's not for everyone. But if you are into trying to pick up weak signals, like if you run a lot of net controls and things like that, it's the type of thing that that's what you would be used for, which is why I got the 150 without the digital, because I have a 300 and two 500s that can run digital, and my 991 runs digital. So that's about it for there. I'd love to trade one of my 500s in and see if I can get a 700, 510, but I don't think that's going to happen very soon. Back to that.
Welcome to the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club linked repeater system.
Thanks, Carmine. And actually, I'm doing the net right now on a 500, and I had it in the vehicle for a little bit, and it just didn't fit the way I liked it to, so I ended up putting the 300 back in. And I will say I was on the fence about buying it, and not this past Thanksgiving, the year before, Yaesu had put a coupon on it, which was, I think it was like a $150 coupon. And then HRO put an additional discount on it, which I've never seen before. And I actually got the radio delivered, including tax, for under $500. And when I saw that, I had to jump on it, and I got it. And a few days later, I was thinking, that's such a great price. Maybe I'll get another one. And it had already gone up, and it was like, okay, I'm not going to do it. But, yeah, I have never seen it that low, and I will admit I just lucked into it, but I couldn't resist. So, and Eric, yes, as far as the new radio, the pricing is going to be interesting. I think there is going to be a ceiling on that, because I think what's going to happen is that they're going to come out with that radio, and I think it's going to have some improvements. It's going to be the latest and greatest. So I think they will charge a premium
KR4PI-R repeater.
I do think that they do have to be a little careful, because if they get too far up there price-wise, then people may say, well, it's a really great radio. I don't need that much. I'm going to go better deal. W4EPS, Eric, back to you. See if you have any comment on that.
W4EPS, yeah, no, I agree 100%. They've got to be really careful about where that line in the sand is for pricing. They've got a chance to really capitalize on the market or blow it and give it all back to ICOM again. So, forward to it, and then as soon as we get all the specs on that, try and find an amp I can piggyback on the back and get it up to about 100 watts, or just dump in more than whatever it is, 20 or 12 or whatever. 857. But that's it. W4EPS back to net. I'm going to send everybody a 73 here. I'm starting to get jingles to go pick up the little one here. Time for ballet to be over, gentlemen. Y'all have a great night. I will be listening.
Okay, 7-3, Eric. And when they announced the radio, is officially out and they announce pricing, it'll be interesting. As I said, I expect it to be above the 705, but as long as the 705 is out there, I think it's going to kind of keep it somewhat grounded. And, I have my guess as far as where I think it's going to come in, and we'll see, what happens. Of course, at this point, the reservations, so, nothing is actually set in stone. So we'll see. John, N6 JDH, back over to you.
Thank you, Net Control. This is November 6th, Juliet Delta Hotel. Hey, I just want everybody to know that you all weren't the first. Resource to have, and I thank Carmine for that. One place that I have found that offers I was leery at first, but Rick Snyder told me about it at Christmas time, and I was able to buy a 52A at an unheard of price. It was an ICOM repack. And I mean, again, like, people worry about repacks, what condition they were in. This one came and there wasn't a mark on it. It has a full warranty.
Back, I installed, some Ring cameras, and they were actually refurbished, used, and they were about half the price of the new ones. And I gave them a try, and I will say that when I opened up the boxes, I couldn't tell the difference. And so far, they've been, pretty flawless. So can't complain. And but as I said.
Meeting last year sometime, and I think it was around October time frame, somewhere in there. And might have been, no, I think it was earlier than that, and Rich Snyder's, of all people, mentioned that. I got my IC 7100 that way. It's a repack. It's been a great radio. So I'm very pleased with what they do, and every once in a while I'll go over there and take a look, and that's one of the places I'll go when I start shopping for anything, just to see if they might have something in a lower price. Yep, 750 is quite a chunk of change for a radio to go on the car unless it does HF. So I think I'll stay away from that. But I'm on an IC 2730 right now, which was a brand new radio 2 years ago. So it needs a little help. The UHF transmit's a little bit flaky, but it's a brand new radio. So anyway, it's out of warranty. So I have to see what I can do about that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with Main Trading. They do fine. And so, like I said, I bought the 7100 from them, and I'm real happy with it. And it's been used in 2 field days. This is K4REB.
K1 CJV comments?
K1 CJV, over to you, Carmine.
I think if you check on the main trading website, you'll also find there's a section there for Yaesu repacks and also for Kenwood repacks. And they do the repacks, and they're doing them under the with the permission of the company. That's why ICOM is actually giving a full warranty on those items. Because they come under a certain standard on the repack. So some of them don't carry the full warranty, but some of the ICOMs do. So Main Trading is a reputable company, and those type of repacks, but they're telling you they're repacks and you're paying for it as a repack. I don't like it when they tell me it's new and it's a repack. Back to them.
Thanks, Carmen, and that's a really good point. That Main Trading Company is working with the manufacturer. They're telling you up front what it is, and that's a whole lot different than going on Amazon and buying something that looks like it's new in the box, and you get it out of the box and it's been previously used. And I've seen that. I've seen those complaints on Amazon reviews for some sellers, and that is buyer beware. And if you are going on eBay, especially nowadays, and I would agree. Years ago, eBay was definitely a lot different. There was a lot more honesty. It was rare that you ran into a bad, buyer or seller, and especially buyers, usually you would have somebody that didn't have a very good rating, and at that point, most people just wouldn't sell to them, and they'd disappear. But it's definitely changed. I will say that the last 3 companies I have worked for all had eBay stores, and all 3 of them eventually closed their eBay stores because of numerous things. First of all, a lot of it is with the eBay stores, it's a race to the bottom. I think you're right. I think it was the 480s. They had the SAT, which was the 100 watt with the tuner, and then they had the 200 watt without the tuner. Back to you.
Good evening. The time is 9 p.m.
Yeah, the 200-watt version, you need 2 power supplies to run that thing. So I'm glad I have the 100-watt version. I've got it disconnected right now. I need to get it hooked back up, but it's a good radio, too. So I have plenty of radios, needless to say. Anyway, let's see. 9700 VPAC from, if you want a 9700, they got them for $14.99 over there at NPC. So there's your chance. So anyway, back to you, K4REB.
Thanks, Rick. And yeah, I have plenty of radios too. And I'll tell you, when I get the T200DR in and get that set up, I may swap some stuff around, but it is quite possible that there's a radio, maybe 2 radios that might be going up for sale. We'll have to see, but I've been giving that some thought. This is Larry N1NQU for the Fort Myers Amateur Radio Club Newbie Net. And John, A4JS. I'll give another shout out for you if you're on air.
Well, good evening. Here is AA4JS, and so I got a phone call from my brother and his wife earlier, and
with the will be resolved. It could be another repeater that's got a reversed input and output that could start causing problems. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast in Florida. You get these conditions all the time. So the only thing we can really do to improve things is increase the height of the tower and just hope that the local stations can overpower whatever interferes. But I like your thinking. I'm leaning more and more towards staying where we're at, honestly.
every once in a while, that deal what John was talking about, and things like that, every once in a while, there's just, usually not very many of them. It's just, 1, 2, 3 that they got a hold of, and so if they've got them at the right time, you can grab it from them, and that's pretty good deal. I've bought a lot of stuff from both those places. I had one of those directly from Yazoo one time. Wait for the repeater. I had one of the HT2 Yazoo, one of the first big HT handy talkies that Yazoo did that was C4FM. And I bought it from AES when they were still up in Orlando. And I called them when they first came on the market. I called them every day and said, do you have one? Do you have one? And one day I called them and they said, yep, we've got 3. And I drove up there that day and got one of the first 3 they had, and that was the HT, the number 2 of the Yazoo 2. And something I learned is never buy the very first of anything, brand new piece of equipment. And that thing got sent back 3 times to Yazoo because it would just all of a sudden quit, and they'd have to do, I'd have to set it down, send it back. They'd have to get on, figure out what it, and there was some little thing they caused, or that it caused. The 3rd time I called them, and I was, needless to say, upset. The guy said, okay, I found some things about this before you send it back to me, have you got 20 minutes to do some things for me? And I said, sure, I'll do that. So he had 2 or 3 different settings and things he had me go into, and by golly, got it working again. And for a long time after that, I had no more problems with that radio. Was really pleased with it. Break again. This was when I was still working up north of Tampa, and it was a Friday afternoon. I loaded it with my stuff and was coming home for the weekend. And when I got back here to Fort Myers, I didn't have that radio. And I couldn't imagine what I'd done with it. So Sunday evening, when I got back up north of Tampa, where I was staying,